Quality teams use Excel for a very practical reason. It requires zero procurement approval, and everyone already knows how to use it. You can build a requirements matrix in 10 minutes, but as that single document expands across hundreds of rows and multiple authors, the structure begins to fail. In a regulated industry, modifying a requirement without recording who changed it, when, and why is a severe compliance violation. A standard spreadsheet provides no unalterable audit trail and no way to strictly enforce that every requirement is tied to an active test. QAtrial solves this by importing your existing spreadsheets and applying rigid structure to them. It enforces electronic signatures and proper role-based permissions without forcing you to abandon the historical data you have already compiled. Moving your data into the system is not a one-way trap. At any point, you can easily export your QAtrial data back out to a standard CSV file. Migrating away from spreadsheets secures your data integrity. A relational database automatically records the history of every single change, ensuring you are prepared when an investigator inevitably asks for your records. Step 1 in the migration path is to open your existing master quality tracking spreadsheet so we can extract the data. When you go to save the file, set the format to CSV. QAtrial accepts comma delimited, semicolon delimited, or tab delimited formats. If you have a single workbook containing multiple tabs, like one for your requirements and one for your tests, you cannot export the entire workbook as a single combined file. You need to navigate to your Requirements tab and export it as its own CSV file. Then switch to your Tests tab and export that as a separate CSV. Isolating these data types into distinct flat files provides the clean inputs needed to translate your two-dimensional spreadsheet into a relational database. Now, log into QAtrial, open the Import wizard from the main navigation, and drop your isolated requirement CSV directly into the upload zone. The system parses the uploaded file instantly. It automatically detects the specific text delimiter by analyzing the first few rows, meaning you do not have to wait for any server-side processing to finish. This shows the column mapping interface. We match raw Excel headers on the left to official QAtrial fields on the right. For standard data, QAtrial automatically identifies and connects common column names, like title, status, and risk. If you have custom column headers that the system does not immediately recognize, you can manually override the mapping. Just drag and drop the connection to the correct corresponding field. Before committing to the import, scroll down to the preview pane. It displays the first 3 mapped rows exactly as they will appear in the database, allowing you to easily verify the alignment. This column mapping process effectively transforms your raw, unstructured text strings into actionable, structured metadata. On the final review screen, check the total number of records staged for import. This number should perfectly match the row count from your original Excel file. You can choose to skip duplicates, overwrite existing entries, or create entirely new records. Click Import. The system immediately takes your flat data and assigns an auto-generated sequential ID to every item. The exact moment these IDs generate, a Part 11 compliant electronic audit trail activates, logging a time-stamped, unalterable record. Generating these records permanently solves the problem of silent edits. Every change from this point forward is forced into a highly visible, queryable history. Once you import your tests file, both requirements and tests exist in the system as independent records. Now we manually connect them. Select a test record and use the multi-select tool to establish links to every requirement that specific test covers. Looking at the traceability matrix here, you can see how the system dynamically responds to this step. Intersecting blocks instantly update from an orphan status to a linked status in real time. Next, you can run your legacy requirements through the AI Quality Check tool. This feature scans your newly imported records to identify structural weaknesses you may have missed in Excel. The AI specifically flags phrasing that is vague or missing clear acceptance criteria. When it suggests a revision, you can apply to fix instantly with a single click. Securing true traceability requires unbroken links between your items, but those items must also be unambiguous and capable of actually being tested. This is the QAtrial Compliance Dashboard. Your legacy data is now actively driving a populated quality management ecosystem. Instead of manually auditing your files, the system continuously calculates a weighted readiness score and actively flags records on a dedicated dashboard if they are missing attached evidence. Your next operational steps are straightforward. Import any remaining archived spreadsheets, and then configure role-based access permissions for your team members so they can begin working securely. Preparing for audits no longer requires weeks of manual forensic comparison. Compliance becomes a continuous benefit of keeping data strictly maintained inside a relational database.